بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It gives me a great pleasure to be on this distinguished panel discussing the 10 by 10 case study. I would like to take you back to late 2004 when we started the development of the investment strategy of Saudi Arabia. At the time, we asked ourselves what would be the one single thing, if we do right, would have a significant economic impact on the nation. And the answer was one word: competitiveness. We need to be competitive as a nation, as government, as private sector, as infrastructure, as education, as healthcare, and so forth and so on. So we came up with a goal at the time, and we capsulized it in two numbers, 10 by 10. We said at the time, that was late 2004, that we'd like to be among the top 10 most competitive investment destinations by the end of 2010. And we agreed at the time to use the Ease of Doing Business report of the World Bank as the benchmark. For delivering 10 by 10, we launched the so-called NCC, the National Competitiveness Center. So we created a dedicated unit to manage the delivery of 10 by 10. The National Competitiveness Center started benchmarking against best practices and the indicators used in the Ease of Doing Business report, as well as other reports, and started the development of business plans that consist of milestones, timelines, and champions, partnerships between us and other government agencies. For instance, to give you an example of one of the indicators used of the Ease of Doing Business report, it is called the starting of a business. It consists of 4 sub-indicators: how long it takes to start a business, how many steps you need to take to start a business, how much it costs to start a business, and what is the minimum capitalization required to start a business. So in partnership with the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, we developed a business plan with milestones and timelines and champions from both sides to improve our ranking against this very indicator that is one of many other indicators used by the Ease of Doing Business report. So we reduced the timeline for the formation of limited liability companies by 70%, the number of steps by 80%, the cost by 90%. We reduced the minimum capitalization required that was at a time one of the highest in the world to one of the lowest in the world. The result, these reforms were introduced by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry in November 2007. In December 2007, the number of companies formed in Riyadh doubled the entire companies formed in the whole year of 2007, just to give you a flavor of the impact of having a more competitive and a more business-friendly procedure. We also introduced multi-initiatives that address the various segments of the competitiveness value chain, and we have seen most of them during the Global Competitiveness Forum, like the RCI, the Responsible Competitiveness Index that assessed the competitiveness of social responsibility program in the private sector, the Oxford program to enhance the competitiveness of leaderships in both private sector and public sector, the MCY, the Most Competitive Youth Index, and so forth and so on. And the whole idea is to develop the whole competitiveness value chain. The whole objective of phase 1, which is 2005 to 2010, is to lay the foundation of competitiveness, to create awareness of competitiveness, to establish a common language capsulized in one word: competitiveness. Before, it was subjective. He says this, she says that. Today, the governing rule is best practices and benchmarking against indicators, and that's what phase 1 brought to the table. That's the foundation we have laid. Now, to look at the impact of 10 by 10, the ranking of Saudi Arabia has significantly improved. It jumped to 67 in 05, to 38 in 06, to 23 in 07, to 16 in 08, to 13 in 09, and to 11 in 2010. Unfortunately, we missed the target. However, what we have achieved is laying the foundation and establishing the culture of competitiveness establishing a common language, a language of benchmarking against best practices, benchmarking against indicators used by different rankings around the world. We started with the ease of doing business. From 2010 to 2015, we're going to broaden the competitiveness framework. We're going to integrate other competitiveness rankings like the WEF, the World Economic Forum Competitiveness Ranking, the IMD, and many other rankings. Some of them are sector-driven and so forth and so on. So this is really the beginning of the competitiveness journey of Saudi. It's not the end of the competitiveness journey of Saudi. Now, to be ahead of all the Middle Eastern countries and Arab countries with no exception, and number 11 in the world out of 183 countries, is certainly a global vote of confidence that Saudi Arabia has improved and progressed in terms of the competitiveness of its investment climate. But what is more important, just to give you a flavor of the countries ahead of us, the top 10 today are Singapore, Hong Kong, New Zealand, United Kingdom, United States, Denmark, Canada, Norway, Ireland, and Australia. Saudi Arabia is number 11, and these are the top countries. Japan is number 8, Germany is number 22, France is number 25 or 26. The closest Arab Middle Eastern country to us is Bahrain, 28, and United Arab Emirates, 40. But the significance of this ranking is better demonstrated in the next chart. This is the actual flow of foreign direct investments into the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. UNCTAD, the United Nations Conference for Trade and Development, audits the actual FDI around the world. Actual, not promised, not forecasted, actual foreign direct investments. Saudi Arabia, before 2005, the accumulative inventory of foreign direct investments in the kingdom was less than $50 billion. By the end of 2009, it was $150 billion. Our ranking in the UNCTAD jumped to 27 globally in 06, to 20 in 07, to 18 in 08, 14 in 09, and 8 in 2010, which is the audit of 2009. Imagine a country with the second biggest item of export after oil is capital, to be the 8th biggest recipient of capital in the world. So this is indeed significant. But this is not the end of the story. The way forward is even more interesting. The economic cities are the future competitiveness benchmarks. They are the new pockets of competitiveness. Why to care about the number of steps in certain procedure if I can give you any government service in less than 60 minutes? The Kingdom has passed a law this year in February 2010, last year, called the Economic Cities Law. Article 10 in the law calls for offering all government services within the economic cities, every service in no more than 60 minutes, and should be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we are talking about 600 government services that we're going to convert to 60 24/7 compliance over the coming 5 years. So these cities will be the future best practices. They will be the future benchmarks. We are changing the rules of the game. You don't need to look at the number of steps in every procedure, as long as the procedure is completed by the beneficiary in less than 60 minutes. So this is the kind of game changer we are introducing to the global economy. So these pockets of competitiveness will be the future benchmarks and the future indicators of competitiveness. Moreover, we're going to broaden, as I said earlier, the competitiveness framework, and we're going to include rankings such as the World Economic Forum, the IMD, and sector competitiveness frameworks as well. So the journey from here till 2015 is even more exciting for us. With this, I would end my remarks and thank you very much.